The Misadventures of an Escape Artist, Episode 13. Last months in Guinea. Push in the bush. It was a beautiful day with no wind or clouds. The temperature was around 40 degrees Celsius and would rise to about 50 degrees by noon. Kiriaraku was a small bush airport north of the village of Siguri. Everything went smoothly on the flight out. When we arrived at the airport, we shut down the engines and unloaded the equipment off the plane. After taking the time to relax and talk with the villagers, we got back onto the plane to start the engines to return to home base. The left engine refused to start. We realized the starter was broken. We contacted the chief mechanic using the HF radio on the plane. In the village there was no telephone, nor any mechanic or modern tools available. The mechanic at the base told me that it would take more than 2 days by truck to get from Benko, because a regular vehicle could not maneuver these roads. I was getting concerned as they did not have any fresh water or food that I could eat. Coming from Canada, my immune system was not strong enough to drink and eat the village food without falling desperately ill. The mechanic suggested that after starting the right engine with the working starter, to remove the starter from the running engine and install it on the left engine for a normal start. That sounded like a great plan, but we had no tools. As luck would have it, we found a villager who had the correct screwdriver. Only a flat screwdriver was needed, which was actually the only screwdriver he had. Removing the starter from a running aeroplane engine is quite difficult. I was less than a foot away from the running propellers, in a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius. I was able to remove the right starter, install it on the left engine, and then start up the second engine. While preparing for takeoff, I noticed that the temperature of the right engine was extremely high. So high, in fact, that it was minutes away from starting to melt. I pushed both engines to their takeoff power and hoped that as we approached cruising speed, the wind would return the engine to its normal temperature. The engines returned quickly to normal after a little over 5 minutes of flight time. Upon our arrival, the chief mechanic replaced the faulty starter and confirmed that both engines were in good condition and working well. DC-10 near miss. I would leave for my semi-annual holiday, always heading for France or Belgium before changing planes to continue to Canada. I remember a flight to Brussels where the co-pilot had gone to smoke a cigarette in the back of the plane. I also got up to have a cigarette. After a brief conversation, the co-pilot discovered that I was a pilot, so he invited me into the cockpit. It was a McDonnell Douglas DC-10. What an experience! I was overcome by the outside view and the dials and levers on the instrument panel. A few weeks after my return to Guinea, and while I was at Conakry Airport preparing for a flight, I witnessed a landing that missed being a catastrophe. It was a rainy season, and a DC-10 was coming in for a landing. That morning, the airport was shrouded in fog and a light Scotch mist. In 1990, Conakry International Airport was not fenced in, and people frequently crossed the runway by car, truck, or on foot. Airlines flying in the region used the NDB, or non-directional radio beacon, a so-called non-precision approach. A few minutes before the DC-10 landed, it started to rain. A Ghanaian was crossing the landing strip in a truck. As his small vehicle did not have a roof, he got soaked, and running for cover, he left his truck right in the middle of the runway. The DC-10 aircraft was landing. On touchdown, the pilot suddenly saw the truck on the runway directly in front of him. He knew that he could not regain enough speed to take off again, so he could only continue the landing and crash into the truck on the runway. But like a jigsaw puzzle, the small truck fit perfectly between the fuselage and the left engine. By some incredible luck, there was no damage whatsoever to either vehicle. I met the captain at the hotel bar that evening and spoke to him for a few minutes. His hands were shaking as he held his glass of scotch. Reroute to Freetown. On a flight to Conakry from the village of Benko, Monsieur Conti and I arrived in a heavy thunderstorm at the airport and had to divert the plane to Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. After landing and approaching the terminal, about 15 soldiers with Kalashnikovs surrounded us. The soldiers ordered us to get out of the plane and kneel on the tarmac with our hands on our heads. The plane was searched from top to bottom with the hope of finding weapons and money. I had to negotiate for more than 2 hours before they would let us get back on the plane and return to Conakry.